7 changes that the Indian Railways needs to do in the next 10 years. Hi guys, my name is Himanshu Bansal. You are watching my channel, and in this video we will talk about 7 changes that the Indian Railways needs to do in its network, in its infrastructure, so that to give good customer service, good service to all its passengers. India is having the most extensive railway network in the whole world. No country in the world has so much railway network as India has. And thanks to the British rule before 1947, almost 80 to 90% of the railways which is right now present in India was built before 1947, thanks to the Britishers who ruled on India. Now coming on to 7 changes which needs to be done in Indian Railways in the next decade or so. We know that the Indian Railways are going through a rough patch. Indian Railways are facing a lot of problems when it comes to losses, and also it is facing competition from budget airlines like Indigo and SpiceJet, because the ticket prices are not that, the difference between ticket prices is not that much now. And a person who is traveling from Delhi to Mumbai just needs to pay 300 or 400 or maybe 500 rupees extra to cut short his time from 15 hours to 2 hours and just take a flight between Delhi and Mumbai, or between Delhi and Bangalore, or any other metro city. In recent years, there have been many questions as to what changes Indian Railways require in order to attract more and more passengers, and in order to make Indian Railways profitable again. So the first change which I think that the Indian Railways needs to do is to change the tracks all over India. The tracks which are being installed all over India is of very old technology, and the tracks are of a material which cannot cater to high speed trains, which cannot cater to trains of more than 120 or 150 kilometers an hour. Because of this, the actual speed of trains in India is reduced to 70 or 80 kilometers an hour, and in some few cases maybe 100 or 120 kilometers an hour. So basically, if we change the tracks of the Indian railway network, if we change the tracks all over India, I know it will be a very big process. I know it will be a very big project to change all the railway network, all the tracks all over India. But yes, this is something which will help in railway growth, and this will help in increasing the speed and reducing the time between destinations, reducing the time of different routes, reducing the time taken to transport passengers from one point to another, or maybe cargo from one point to another. So basically, the broad gauge tracks, or maybe the small gauge tracks, whatever is there in India needs to be changed, and needs to be changed in such a manner that it can cater to trains running at a speed of 200 to 250 and maybe 300 kilometers an hour. We are talking about bullet trains, but I think I have made a video of bullet trains before on this channel, and I had argued in that video that bullet trains are not at all required in India. And adding to that, I would say that instead of spending that money into bullet trains, I think if we spend that money into Indian Railways and change all the tracks and change all the railway network, the infrastructure of railways, then we will be in a very good position, and we do not even require bullet trains in that aspect. Now coming on to tie-ups with Japan and everything, we know we have a tie-up with Japan as far as bullet trains are concerned, and China is a country which has built 20,000 kilometers of high-speed railway in the last 10 to 12 years. So I think what we can do is collaborate with Chinese and Japanese companies, bring their innovation into India, and change all the tracks which are there in the Indian railway network instead of building bullet trains. So this is the first change which I think that needs to be done in Indian Railways, and that is changing of tracks in order to cater to high-speed trains like which can run at a speed of 200, 250 or 300 kilometers an hour, and maybe increasing the average speed of trains in India to more than 100 or 120 kilometers an hour. The second change which I think needs to be done is to change the station infrastructure all over the country. Now some of the stations in Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Bangalore and all these big cities are built at a very large scale, and their infrastructure is very good. But the problem is that there are many railway stations, there are many small city railway stations, or maybe tier 2, tier 3 stations, which are not that equipped. I think if we change the infrastructure of all those railway stations and make them as modern as airports which we have in India, then I think it will be a real boost to the Indian railway network, because many people, many passengers have complained about the lack of infrastructure when it comes to stations. Like for example, in Delhi we have 4 or 5 main railway stations. We have Hazrat Nizamuddin, we have New Delhi, Old Delhi, Sarai Rohila, Anand Vihar, and all those places. But Anand Vihar, Hazrat Nizamuddin, all these railway stations have decent infrastructure, but they needs to be upgraded. Just like New Delhi railway station was been upgraded with a lot of restaurants, with Wi-Fi systems, with a lot of cleanliness and everything. These things needs to be implemented on Old Delhi as well as Anand Vihar, Hazrat Nizamuddin, and all these stations as well. This was just a small example, but this has to be done all over the country, because good station infrastructure will help in boosting boosting the railway network, in reducing the time taken for trains, in passenger convenience, and it will slowly and steadily add on to saving a lot of money in the long run. The third change which I think needs to be done when it comes to Indian Railways is the technology. The technology should be improved in such a manner that the trains which we right now have should run at 200 or 225 or maybe 250 kilometers an hour. We cannot afford to operate trains between Delhi and Mumbai for as long as 18 hours, 20 hours, because we know that a close competitor is the airline industry or the budget airlines, and they can offer a cheap fare with a difference of just 400 or 500 rupees, and they can transport the passengers within 2 hours. And when it comes to railways, I think if we can, the quickest train which I know between Delhi and Mumbai is Rajdhani Express, which takes around 15 hours. If we can change the technology, if we can change the tracks and change the station infrastructure, which I had discussed in the first 2 points, then we can reduce this 15 hours to maybe 9 hours or 10 hours. I know this is reducing the time by 1/3 is a very big task, but trust me, if we can change the tracks, if we can change the infrastructure, if we can change the quality of trains and engines, then obviously we can achieve this target, and this will be a real boost in passenger numbers and in increasing the efficiency of the Indian railways. Same goes for all other cities, whether it is tier 2 or tier 3 cities. The fourth point is change of trains. This is again related to the first 3 points which I had discussed. Okay, we have changed the tracks, we have changed the station infrastructure, we have changed the technology, but yes, we need to change the trains as well. A few new trains have been introduced, Train 18 and Mahavana Express and all those trains. These are very good trains and these are very good initiatives. We need more and more of these trains in our Indian railway system. We need to change each and every train into these sort of trains, and we need to change all the trains so that they can at least achieve a speed of 120 to 150 or 170 kilometers an hour. We cannot afford to have train journeys from North India to South India as long as 25 hours or 30 hours. We have to reduce that time by 1/3 or maybe by half. And for that, I think it is very, very important to not only reduce the time taken, but also improve the train quality as well. New trains should be introduced in the Indian railway system in order to run trains as fast as 150 to 170 kilometers an hour. And this is the requirement now, because we cannot afford to, in a growing economy like India, we cannot afford to have slow trains. The fifth point is signaling systems. This is another point which is complementary to the first 4 points which I had discussed. We have new trains now, we have station infrastructure, we have new tracks now, we have technology now, but we need signaling systems as well. Signaling systems should be as efficient and as effective that they can easily operate and navigate the trains to their destinations in a very convenient and in a very efficient manner. Because sometimes a faulty signaling system or an old-fashioned signaling system can increase the time of a train from 1 hour to 3 hours or maybe 4 hours. Now the sixth point is food. The food which is available in the Indian railways is of a decent quality. I would not say that it is bad, I would not say that it is very good, but yes, it is of a decent quality. Yes, there have been some very good initiatives, like for example, there have been some app-based or some food services which are operating in such a way that, for example, if you are traveling between Delhi and Mumbai and you have a stop at Agra, then these restaurants, what they do is they take your booking, and when your train arrives in Agra, they come to your coach and hand over the food to you. these are some services which are happening in India which is very good. But yes, the in-house food service which we have in all the trains needs to be very good. It needs to be as good as we can see in the Indian airline industry, as we see in the Indian aviation market. Food is something which is of utmost important when you are on a 10 to 12 hour or maybe 15 or 20 hour journeys. And if you are traveling between North India and South India, then obviously the journey may be as long as 24 hours or maybe 30 hours. So food is something which is very important, and a lot of passengers have complained in the past that some of the trains in Indian Railways do not have sufficient food, do not have the food quality is not that good. But yes, if the food quality is improved, that will enhance the passenger experience on Indian Railways. Coming on to the seventh point are sanitary facilities. Now, sanitary facilities is one big problem in Indian Railways. We have seen in the past that a lot of people have this habit of urinating or defecating on railway tracks or maybe nearby stations, nearby platforms, and making the place into a dirty mess. And the washrooms which we see in Indian Railways and also on stations are not that clean. So I think if we can improve the sanitary facilities in the trains, because you see we have women also traveling there, and obviously we cannot afford to have very bad and dirty toilets for our women. So basically the sanitary facilities on Indian Railways have been a complaint of all the passengers from the past from many decades, and I think this is something which needs improvement. So guys, there are many more changes that needs to be done in Indian Railways, but I think these are the 7 changes which are the most basic and the most important changes that needs to be done as soon as possible. And if these changes are done, I can bet you we do not need any bullet trains, we do not need any other thing to enhance the transport system in India. If there are any more points to it, please comment down below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and also share it with your friends and family. And if you are a person who is working in Indian Railways, then I would suggest you to share this video with some of your superiors, and maybe you can implement some of my suggestions into your operations. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.